Well, hello there, friends, on this very snowy, stormy Wednesday, March 13, 2019. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. By the title of this video, it's something sad, depressing, something like that, and it's really not. I think it's just about the reality of change, you know? Um, Basically, the idea for it came when, you know, when I look at the work that I have to do a lot right now. But when I think back of how I used to be, it was so much worse. And the point is, when I think back to that person, it honestly doesn't even feel like I'm remembering myself. It feels like I'm remembering somebody else's memory of how they used to be. That, the things that the more things that I struggled with back then, the fear of driving, extreme social anxiety, which, it's not to say that it went completely away, but much more adjusted now and able to actually interact with people. That just some of the way you behaved and did and accepted this is me, and then you overcame, and it's like, was that, like I said, it doesn't even feel like you're remembering yourself. um, the question is it you who decided to work on something and overcome something, or did you become a person who did that thing? I didn't start driving until I was 27. I just basically said, well, I'm scared of driving, and that's it. So I just made that who I am. And, you get away with it for a while, and I think it depends on where you live, too, but not necessarily so much here. And then eventually one day it comes where you have no choice but to focus on and work on it, right? And so you figure, like, for 27 years, you know what I mean. Obviously, from birth, it wouldn't have been a thing, but, you figure you spent all that time avoiding it, and, like, this is just who I am, and then came the day where this is now a thing that I have to do and work on, and so you face that fear, uncertainty, anxiety, depression, whatever, around overcoming this thing, and then very relatively quickly, like, the fear and stuff fades away, and then it eventually is just a thing that you do, or you're just a person who does this thing. And it seems sort of absurd of all the videos that I've made in my car, etc., to think, wow, this is a thing that used to be a problem for me. And it's the same thing with social anxiety. When I, took on a job doing customer service, and just, like, pretty much, like, every day became a struggle of, like, how bad is the anxiety gonna be? Can I make it? Does my, like, inner fear show on my body language, etc.? And days where it's like, oh shit, man, I need, like, another job. I just want to run away somewhere to where I don't have to deal with people. And you stick to it. And now, as you're able to more or less easily converse with people, just the issue now of, do you want to converse with people? You get over the fear, and it's now the desire, if you will. Well, I'm sure glad there's barking dogs. It's a snowstorm, but people still gotta take their dogs for a walk, don't they? And so, relatively, in a more or less short amount of time, in the grand scheme of things, it's a thing that you overcome. And I don't know. I think that in some ways self-acceptance is sort of a delusion, generally speaking, excluding outside factors, you got to where you are in life because you are who you are. If you want to get somewhere else, you can't continue to be who you are. And sure, you could say that, well, there's some things about me that aren't too bad and people like, right? I need to be stop being so harsh on myself, but uh, whatever positives I may have, they are far outweighed, outweighed, haha, cue the fat jokes, are far outweighed by the bad things. Laziness, apathy, lack of any drive. I mean, the list goes on, right? And I think that's what that's the one that hurts the most, folks, is the lack of any drive, because it seems like you have nothing but time, and all you've trained yourself to do with time is just waste it. And it just absolutely kills you, but that's all you've learned to do, that you almost don't know what else to do even though you do, right? You know that, okay, I'm up, I've got the day off, it's relatively quiet in the house, whatever. I should work on, get my laptop out, work on whatever, but instead you just continue to lay in bed, stare at your phone, watch more videos about who knows what and why, as if any more of it will somehow change something. And this is what you've trained yourself to do. Like I wasn't always fat, and I look back at some of my pictures of when I was a skinny kid. It was like, wow. Like, I don't know how else to be than just fat. And it's tiring, and it's not even to attract women, nothing like that. Just like the heaviness that comes with it that slows everything. The heaviness that slows it down. It's like, to really get an understanding of that, you kind of have to wear, like, have you ever worn a weighted vest? Even like 20 or 30 pounds. Like, because I've got like a 40-pound one. And like, yeah, you put that thing on, you walk around. Because it's like, oh, well, you're not that fat. That's what people will tell me, who I just sometimes at work, of like, oh, I'm not too happy with my weight. Like, well, you're not that fat. But yeah, like, you put on a weighted vest and you just walk around with that, and you take it off, like even 10-pound one, like a heavy backpack or something, and it's like, oh shit. Ugh. Like, a literal weight is off of your shoulders, so I don't know. And it's hold on, I wanted to get some of that background ambience. Stupid dogs have to ruin it. I don't hate dogs, folks. If you ever hear me say something, I just hate the way that people treat them like they're fur babies. Everybody around here has a fucking dog. And there's shit all over the place, even though they tell people, hey, there's like a whole lot of it laying around. They still just, oh, okay, just leave it there. But I can, like, I know what I'm supposed to do, but I'm seemingly incapable of doing it. At least that's what I've trained myself to do. You have all this free time, and you just choose to do nothing. You just wonder to yourself, what would life be like if you lived differently, Which is obviously easier said than done, because, you can step outside of yourself, right? You can step outside of yourself and examine your life. And you'll have to excuse the audio now coming from the TV. It's, you know, I became basically my dad. Or maybe he became me. Or maybe we both became each other. You know, it's like the one day he told me years ago during like a holiday dinner after some wine that my biggest problem is that I'm laziness, and that my biggest problem is that I'm lazy, but he understood because he's exactly the same way. So, yeah, day off, and we're both just kind of, he's laying on the couch, I'm laying in bed, do nothing. You know, I look at like the recumbent exercise bike in the living room that we've had for years that he's barely used, that I bought for him because, you know, his back issues and whatever, as like a way to do cardio and lose weight. And he's like barely used it. And I say, like I've said before, why don't we just get rid of it or something? Go donate. He's like, no, 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 don't get rid of it, you know. You know, one of these days he's planning to eventually do something right, just exactly like I am. It's kind of amazing how I took exactly after him. I mean, I'm not saying that to like shift my blame or anything, but you know, the simple reality is that you do kind of become the example that you, it's very easy to become the example that you see around yourself. And so, you know, back to the point of, like, I can step outside of myself and examine myself, and you're not, like, all emotional, you know? It feels like you can think clear about your situation, and it becomes very obvious of, like, what to do, but then you step back into your head, and then it feels like your legs just sink into fucking mud, and you can't move at all. So I don't know. I guess what I've learned with, you know, it's, you can definitely like convince yourself of a lot of stuff, but how do you make it stick, you know? You know, they say like, you do the things of like the person that you want to become, but obviously like it's very easy to get motivated, but you start doing it, but like you know, it doesn't want to take just so easy, right? It doesn't want to take so easy because it's like, this isn't who I am, this isn't what I do. So it's just back to like, oh, self-improvement, blah blah, is bullshit. This is all, it's those low days, you know? It's those low days that are so critical. The high days are fine, but it's those low days which will probably happen more often than not for quite a long time at first, where it's so easy to just screw it all up, whatever you might do. But I guess, if anything that I've learned, that if you just get through it and do what you're supposed to and don't go backwards and don't screw it up, that more or less you can wake up the next morning feeling better, you know? I mean, is it possible, folks? Is it possible to, like, do the things of the person that you want to be, so to speak, and eventually have it take in your head, and then one day you wake up and that's just who you are? And you look back at this and you think, how did I waste all this time? Not how, but why? When I was getting nothing from it, all the dumb shit that I was watching and listening to, well, you know, or that just didn't serve a purpose for you anymore. Why did I continue on with it? You know, like, why do you keep doing things that don't have any that provide you with nothing, that you get nothing out of? that, you know, more often than not may even like be constantly putting you back. Well, on that note, folks, I'm going to end the video. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.